Good morning. Please take your seat. Can close the doors. Speakers are ready. Good morning, everybody. You are very welcome to the second day of the first European Conference on Small Forest Holdings. Slowly by slowly, people are coming. Today, we are working in a plenary session during this morning with 2 technical sessions. We will stop at 10:30 for a coffee break, and then at 12:30 for the lunch break, and at 2 o'clock we are going to take a bus to go on a field trip organized in the Castel Porziano presidential estate. I would like to start with a recommendation. Be aware that there will be 3 buses gently provided by the Carabinieri National Corps parked just in front of the building. It is not very clear for me, it will be just this side or the other side, but I guess we will see 3 Carabinieri buses. Please help me with this. And I also would like to point out that if there are late registrations, it's a problem, okay? If you are not sure that your personal data have been provided to the organization, please let us know in order to provide to Castel Porziano security system, even if it's at the last minute. And if you are guessing to bring like your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, I'm sorry, but this is not really possible because this is the residence of the President of the Italian Republic, and the security is very strict. That's it. So let's start with the first technical session of day 2, dedicated to the innovative solutions to overcome forest ownership fragmentation. The session is moderated by Professor João Acevedo. João is professor at Bragança Polytechnic University and researched at Mountain Research Center and Associate Laboratory for Sustainability and Technology in mountain regions in Portugal. He is Deputy Coordinator of UFRO Division 8, Forest Environment, and Chair of UFRO Landscape Ecology Unit. Also Vice President of Portuguese Forest Science Society. His research is directed to ecology, sustainability, and resilience of forest landscape. Thank you very much for your contribution, João, and of course, he's also a partner of the SMURF project. The floor is yours. Thank you,
Ricardo. So good morning. Well, first of all, thanks for the presentation. And also thanks for the picture that you chose. I look much better in that picture than in reality. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the invitation to be a moderator in this session. It's really an honor to be here. Yesterday we had a great day of fantastic presentations and debates and discussions. We realized, among other things, that forestry is a very challenging field due to its complexity. And this reminds me what a colleague of mine in America used to say in forest extension events that he organized, that forest science is not rocket science, it is much more complex than that. And indeed, we were able to put humans on the moon and vehicles in Mars, but we have not been very successful in solving biodiversity loss and sustainability and resilience issues in forest landscapes, or in solving the forest ownership fragmentation problem that is the topic that brings us here this morning. So fragmentation, and we have been learning this for a long time, is a very critical issue in forestry in Europe and other places in the world. It has many implications on issues such as profitability, climate policy, conservation measures, risk management measures, and access to funding. It's a very complex topic because it involves a diversity of factors, mostly social, including policy, historical, cultural, economic, and many others. But it's here, it's common in Europe, and people around Europe have been dealing with it for some time. So there's initiatives, there has been initiatives, and there are ongoing initiatives to tackle this issue and to try to overcome it. And this is the goal of this session this morning, is to put emphasis on solutions more than on problems, and to give the floor to people that are on the ground actually developing and implementing solutions for fragmentation or forest ownership fragmentation. The presentations that will be given here are just a small sample of possible initiatives, programs, policies, tools that can be put into place to solve or to address and trying to solve this fragmentation issue. The purpose is not to provide solutions to all problems, but to show examples of how different actors have been addressing this problem of fragmentation. The initiatives to be presented here come from Italy, from Finland, and from Portugal. They are very different in terms of nature and scales. One is more technological and operates at several scales. Another one is more in terms of organization, structure, and management at local scale. And finally, one is more political, financial, and established at national level, but implemented at the local scale. So before these case studies, we'll have Professor David Petenella that will give us an overview of the topic in a presentation that is called Causes, Consequences, and Challenges of Forest Ownership Fragmentation. So I'd like to introduce Professor Petenella, that I know for some time. He's from the Italian Society of Silviculture and Forest Ecology. He's a professor at the University of Padova. He has extensive experience in forest education, management, research, and consultancy, mostly in forest economics and policy. And we met in a cost action called CLIMO, Climate Smart Forestry in Mountain Regions, several years ago. I had the pleasure to work with Professor Petenella in some publications, and we actually even organized a meeting in Bragança, not in Porto, that Professor Petenella attended. So it's my pleasure to give the floor to Professor Petenella.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here to speak about one structural problem of the forestry sector. And as you see, the element or the component of my speech will be connected with the causes and consequences as some challenges of the problem of land fragmentation in Europe. How can I manage the... There is a pointer?
Should be.
Oh, thanks a lot. Good. And I wanted to make two initial clarification in order to set down the frame that I'm considering in this presentation. When we use the term land fragmentation, it's a bit ambiguous term, in the sense that if you look at the bibliography of fragmentation, you will find a lot of information, especially in the last years, connected with the landscape problem, the ecological problem. While I'm using a different approach. I'm looking, as Joao was suggesting the social economic problem of land fragmentation as a problem connected with the division of a forest into small blocks during the inheritance process. And of course, I will focus on the European context. Well, let's start. I'm an old professor, so I tend to have this attitude to consider the time dimension of the problems. Let's think to how the forests in Europe were managed by private forest owners in the past. They were mainly based on small wooded plots used for self-consumption, for the production of wood for energy and poles. Part of small, medium-sized farms, frequently managed with a relatively short rotation period. Well, that was the normal and prevailing condition just after the Second World War in the 50s. Think that at that time we had 550 million inhabitants in rural areas. Now we have more than 700 million of inhabitants in the rural area. And the workforce in the 50s was devoted to the forest and agriculture sector in a percentage that was around 35–40%. Now we have a workforce in agriculture and forestry that is only 3%. And you see here the data related to some countries, really a collapse in the employment in all around Europe of the people living in rural areas and employed in the agriculture and in the forest sector. And this was much connected with the process of urbanization, the early industrialization, later to the tertiarization of our economies. And when we think to urbanization, I think that this image may be quite representative. What does it mean having less people living in rural areas? But look at this image about Italy, that is well known as the country of the 100 small, medium-sized cities, and Germany. So the first driver of the problem that we are considering is by sure the decrease of people living in marginal areas, marginal rural areas. There has been some common trends associated to this process. Land extensivation, farmland, forest land extensivation, farmland abandonment, especially in marginal areas, conversion of farmland to forest, the growing forest stocks, so positive and negative element, but that is a very important point, with quite different patterns of land fragmentation among European countries. And that's also connected with the land consolidation policy. So I tried to understand and to define the reason of these different trends. And I think that 4 are the main, let's say, driver of these different patterns of development in relation to the fragmentation process. The traditional juridical system, the traditional land tenure system, the problem connected with land renting and estate market dynamic, and the action of the state. Let's consider the first. Not so much known, but let's remember that according to the inheritance practice, the Roman law is in contrast with the German law, much applied in Central Europe, where the land is considered an estate indivisible. In the tradition of Roman law, land is inherited by all sons and daughters, and that is the driver of land splitting. In the German law, the land is normally passed exclusively to the firstborn male child. And I think that Italy has a very interesting case for showing what does it mean, this different juridical system, because we have two autonomous provinces in the northeast of the country, the province of Bolzano and the province of Trento, where in the province of Bolzano we have the German law applied, and in the province of Trento, nearby region, the Roman one. And you see the average size of the agri-forest farm that we have in two close regions. About the second reason, the traditional land tenure system. Well, small private forest owners are a component of a universe where there are other actors, other type of owners typologies. And sometimes these different actors are much more powerful in terms of advocacy, capacity, in terms of lobbying. Let's think to the public forest owner, state forest, think to the strong role played at the moment by EUSTA, the networking organization of state forest enterprises, in all affairs connected with policy decision by the European Union, the municipal forest that they have also their network, the community forest, different type of community forest. The industrial forest owners are a minor player. We have some industrial forest owners in Scandinavian countries, in Scotland, but they are not so important like in North America. And the farmers have been many times in our recent history contrasting the interest of land consolidation in forestry and allocating funds to the forestry sector. And that is particularly true in the last years, where there is stronger competition in public fund allocation when we have to manage the rural development plan between the use of public funds in agriculture and in forestry. The third driver are the problems connected to land renting and estate market dynamic. I think you all know that the leasing of forest land is problematic. Why? Because, and that is the main difference with the leasing farmland, when you offer to third parties the use of forest land, you are offering not only bare land, but you are giving the responsibility of managing a growing stock. And it's very difficult to define which type of annual or periodical payment to be given to the landowner. Because the landowner is using not only the net annual increment, but it may also be tempted to use a part of the growing asset, growing stock. That is the basic reason why land renting in forest is not so common. And if we look at the other countries outside Europe, we see that other type of contracts have been developed, like the stewardship contracts, the long-term increment contracts. We have a good experience in North America of this contract, but a very limited experiences of applying this type of contract in Europe. And finally, there is also a different dynamism of the land market in relation to the business of carrying out a land transaction. In some markets, in some countries, the market is blocked by the so-called transaction cost, the cost of managing the process of land inheritance. And which is the impact of this situation, is what in Italy call pathological land fragmentation. Unfortunately, I think that the colors are not very clear, but only to give you an idea here, the plots that are red or reddish are plots of an extension less than 100 square meter. square meter. And the cost of land transaction of the register at the cadastral are several times higher than the value of the capital itself, the land. And you can understand why we have a so-called, a very common problem of the res nullius. We don't know who is now the owner of large part of marginal forest land, especially in mountain areas. The final driver is connected with the action of the state to reduce the problem of land fragmentation, to make it easier land consolidation, to reform and to update the cadastral system. These are two areas of intervention that are very important. In Europe, we had approved a special regulation for land consolidation, starting from the 70s, and they have been marginally applied also to forest areas, being the main concern of these pieces of legislation, the consolidation of farmland. And again, speaking about the role of the state has played a very important role in giving land management responsibility to other organizations, to finding the way, also the legal arrangement to transfer the responsibility of land management, to encourage forest landowners to create association. And then, of course, in some countries, they have been very active in technical and financial support. I wanted to give only three very minor examples, but I give you the idea. Well, wonderful, at least from a Mediterranean point of view, experience case is that one of Scandinavian countries, where there has been created a multi-layer system of forest land association, even a network, and that is a reference that I'm taking from this website of the network of the Scandinavian family forest. And you see the figures in red. They are involving quite a large amount of private forest owners, and that is one of the answers to the problem of land fragmentation. Another totally different initiative that I think is a model example is that one of France, with the National Center for the Private Forest, a public organization supported by the state, giving at the regional level, larger support to the activation of the use of private forest. Another very positive example is that one of Portugal, where we have local association, but also a national network of forest landowners. Again, you see the figures are quite impressive, quite high. So, final remark. What we see are not only problems, but also positive and challenging opportunities for the future. I was thinking a topic of large discussion this month all around the European Union is the implementation of nature restoration law. Where and with which type of properties. Also knowing very well that the position of Eustafor and of the state forest enterprise is a bit, let's say, that one of asking, please don't consider our forest land that has also a productive function as the main asset for implementing in the forest sector the natural restoration law. Well, why not thinking to fragmented, abandoned, small blocks and plots of private forest land in marginal areas? We could also think to a slogan, association among small private forest owners for the restoration under, of course, indemnization. And then take also in consideration a potential positive element of land fragmentation. Fragmented land means having quite a lot of small plots managed with different tradition of forest use. And that is very important for supporting this integrative approach. And I think that we need this type of approach. Having so ambitious target in our European Union policy connected with putting some forest land under strict protection or producing a lot of wood for the growing needs of the bioeconomy. That means making specialized plantation, maybe with the fast-growing trees. So there is room for also supporting this integrative approach against the segregative approach. So which are the take-home message I want to give you? Forest land fragmentation is not an issue of the same importance in Europe. There have been and there are different outcomes of the policy. There are very positive lessons to be learned, and I think that is a bit strange thinking to the idea of European Union as a country that is taking advantage of all the lessons learned that we can have from different countries, that we have not been able to share the positive experience gained in different contexts. And finally, there are good potential that can come out from this problem. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, David, for your positive perspective and attitude. We really appreciate that. And so we move now to the examples from European countries, for European organizations that we want to share with you. The first one is forest sharing, which is a platform that Ilaria Zorzi will present. Ilaria works for Blue Biloba, which is a spin-off of the University of Florence. She's an expert with a specialization in sustainable management and the enhancement of fragmented forest properties. She works within this forest sharing project to support small forest owners in the collaborative and digital management of their woodland resources. Her role focuses on forest certification and project developing. So Ilaria, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So I'm waiting for my presentation so I can. Here we go. So today we are I'm presenting a solution implemented in Italy that is called forest sharing. That is basically a platform for aggregated and sustainable forest management. We talk a lot about the European perspective in these days, but I want just to focus on one important thing, that also the SDGs are pointing out the importance of forests with the SDG number 15, that is life on land. And in fact, inside this, there is also another objective, that is progress towards sustainable forest management. And this is our starting point. Well, I thank also Professor Pettenella because he did already a lot in explaining what forest fragmentation in Italy is. So he eases a bit my job also today. But I want also to give some other insights. So basically in Italy, forests are increasing. From 1985, we have 1.7 million hectares of forest more. But it's also true that the cutting of wood is less than the wood increment. And in fact, from the Italian report of forests, from in the years 2017-2018, there was just the 18/37% of the wood increment cut. And in the 2022, there was a 24% of the total forest that we have that have been cut of the wood increment. But important to say is also that in Italy we have fragmentation also about how the forest is used from north to south. In fact, if we see in Trentino Alto Adige, Toscana, Lombardia, Emilia Romagna, Calabria, and Piemonte, this wood increment was cut from the 71%. But there are also new perspectives, such as we talked about yesterday, the forest ecosystem services, and we also need to remember that in Italy, tourism is one of the most important and economical thing, let's say. So also this can be taken into account when we talk about forest management. Basically, in Italy, 70% of the forests are privately owned. The average size of the ownership is more or less 10 hectares, but main of the forests are less than 5 hectares. It was explained pretty well. Italy is also the first importer of fuel wood in Europe, and the 80% of the wood that is used in the Italian economy is imported. Yesterday, Professor Pico said that he didn't know where his forest is. Well, basically, this is also another problem because people inherit these forests from their relatives. They don't know where these forests are, and they don't have a forestry culture, so they don't know what they can do with these forests, and they usually live far from rural areas because their relatives were living in rural areas, they moved to cities, so they never went back again to their maybe relatives' areas. And there are also a poor forestry culture, as I said before, and in fact just the 15% of these forests are actively managed. And we estimate, and this is just an estimation, that the forest owners in Italy are around 1 million, but it's not really possible to know right now. But of course, we hope that also if we improve our cadastre, maybe registration, maybe we can know more about this. Of course, the cadastre. Having also an open source and vectorial format can facilitate, of course, the parcel detection. Forest sharing was born in 2015 with the first, let's say, idea and concept, but then the first projects were developed in 2023, and this shows you how difficult it is also understanding and try to do something with these forests. Also because one of the questions yesterday was about challenging of small forest owners in Europe. Well, one of the challenges is to find them. So where are these forests and where are these forest owners? What is our mindset? Well, basically, we have an holistic perspective. So, as Professor Petenella said before, we see the forest as an ecosystem, not as divided properties, because it's the best way for us to manage a forest effectively. We try to have a circular management, so of course, all the revenue coming from the forest needs to go again in the forest and be reinvested there. And even if the forest owners don't have probably knowledge about forest management, we try anyway to have a bottom-up approach because they need to understand what the forest is and also what they can do and also decide what they want to do with it. And of course, important is to involve all the stakeholders on the territory in order to do that. Otherwise, it is pretty impossible to spread the word, let's say. How does it work? Basically, it's a platform, we will see in the next slide, where we try to connect, yes, forest owners, but also with companies that maybe can buy forest ecosystem services, so for the payments, but also maybe also sawmills that want that wood, or even some lumberjacks that wants to cut the trees. And this is why we founded the platform and how this works. Basically, a forest owner can just go online on the forest sharing website, register. The access is for free and is not binding. So it means that if at some point it doesn't want to be registered anymore inside the platform, it can, of course, remove the forest from there. And then the platform tries to aggregate the forests that are close to each other in order to have this holistic approach, identifying cluster of neighboring forests that can be managed aggregately. Of course, we try to do a shared forest management plan. So this means that we try to cover multiple forest owners' forests and try to enhance all the forestry functions. Of course, all the forest management plan need to be tailored to the specificity of each area. And then forest sharing handles all the technical part from the management plan, technical procedure, coordination of all the stakeholders. And it is important to say that the revenue, also for forest sharing, is just a percentage of the revenue that the forest owner has in the end of the process. So when he sells forest ecosystem services or where he sells wood. Of course, we also try to get funding, for example, from the European Union or for the Italian ministry in order to have more of course, to have economic and environmental benefits in both terms. And where are we at now? Basically, we have 1,200 more or less forest owners registered, more or less 1,133 forest properties. You see the forest properties registered here in this Italian map. There are 24,000 cadastral parcels and 27,000 forest hectares registered in our platform. I'm presenting you also two of our projects that actually went well. One is an aggregative cork management in Sardinia. Basically, in Sardinia, you know, there is a production of cork. We tried to promote an aggregative approach in order to produce more sustainably and also quality material of cork. We aggregated 15 private forest owners with 2 public entities. In the end, we had more or less 2,000 forest hectares, and from this example was born a cooperative that is Landé, that is still managing aggregately these forests producing the material. Another one is ASFO, that is a forest land association that was born after our intervention. The name is Campeda Futura. Basically, we aggregated here not so many hectares as in Sardinia, but at least 45 hectares of forest land of different properties, 14, and we starting a couple of weeks ago, basically, the fruit chestnut grove restoration, working also with pruning and grafting. Of course, this process was complex, long. In fact, you saw 8 years from the first idea until the first project basically took place. We took a lot of time and effort, and important is to say that also local engagement activities are super important. So that's why we are really active, for example, in our region, that is Tuscany, because we know a lot of stakeholders, but it's not so easy also to get in contact with people in other regions where we are not so active or where we don't know a lot of people. That's why also having some local stakeholders that can help us will help also the developing of the platform and also the developing of our project. Of course, when we talk about stakeholder, we don't talk about stakeholder just related with forests, because again, forest ecosystem services, again, tourism. We know that in Italy is key, so we need to involve also all these people working in forests, but in other sectors, for example, sport association, tourist guides, and so on. And another problem, we saw it yesterday, that is really difficult to develop indicators to sustain also the payment for forest ecosystem services and to quantify them. And a question that has been raised was, is it a local idea with global potential? Well, we think so, because we understood that is a complex approach and process, but of course, if you have local stakeholders that have also the force to develop this project outside our region, outside Italy, of course, this can be exported. There was another example that has been exported already, not abroad, but in Friuli Venezia Giulia, that decided to do its own forest sharing platform for aggregating the old lands inside their region. So we think this can be a solution. Last but not least, if you want to stay updated on our project, you can follow us on our social media. Of course, we post mainly in Italian, but if you have any question, you can reach us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilaria, for the great work that you have been doing. We move now to a different part of Europe, to Finland. Juho Puikko is going to present the experience with the Kemijärvi jointly owned forest. Juho is the executive director of Kemijärvi jointly owned forest, the northernmost city in Finland and located in Lapland. He has a Master's of Science in Forest and Agriculture from the University of Helsinki. He has worked in various wood procurement positions throughout his career in Finland. And Juho is really proud of the level of sustainable forest management in Finland and works towards that every day in his current position. So, as you know, Finland has the happiest people in Europe or in the world, and I'm sure that the type of work in connection with forests is possibly behind it. So, Juho, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, now, yeah. Thank you very much, and have a good day, all. Thanks for inviting me here. It's really nice to be here. This is my first time in Italy and Rome. Actually, it was snowing in the city of Rovaniemi this morning, so it's really good to be here. I hope that my presentation provides an image and example of how the fragmentation of forest property and forest ownership can be prevented in Finland. And in my presentation, first I'm gonna tell you some basics about the jointly owned forests in Finland and what kind of forest ownership form actually it is. And in the second part, I will show you some details about the development of jointly owned forests in Finland during the past 20 years and the reasons behind that development. And third part, I will tell you some advantages and some challenges too about of jointly owned forests. And the fourth part is a case example, our Kemijärvi jointly owned forest, where I am working. And the last part is the additional information. I will show you some good websites where you can find more good information about jointly owned forests. Okay, the idea of jointly owned forests. Jointly owned forest is an area belonging to several real estates jointly. And these privately owned land and water areas are managed by the partnership. and the shareholder of a job are the owners of shareholding real estates. And according to the Act of John Leon Forests, JOF is primarily intended to be used for practicing sustainable forestry for the benefit of shareholders, but it can be used for other purposes too, if it's economically or otherwise feasible. And there is no other way to be a shareholder than to own a real estate with shares of John Leon Forest. And a partnership meeting, or it could say a shareholder meeting, has the highest power of decision of the John Leon Forest. And the shareholders' right to vote depends on the share in the John Leon Forest, and the right to a surplus goes straight according to the share ratio. And that's the idea behind of the ownership of John Leon Forest. And according to the Act on John Leon Forest, every job has to have the rules of procedure. They have to have a forest management plan. And actually, John Leon Forest is the only ownership group that the forest management plan is mandatory, and in private forest sector. And there has to have also an administrative board or an agent chosen by the partnerships meeting or the shareholder meeting. And they has to have also an annual strategy and budget. And also a financial statement must be drawn up for each accounting period. And partnership meeting have to accept this annual strategy and budget and financial statement also. And if you look at the development of John Leon Forest in Finland, and from this graph you can see that there has happened quite a lot during the past 20 years. In next slide I will show you some reasons behind this development, but as you can see in 2002 there was only about 150 jobs in Finland, and the total area was about 400,000 hectares. And nowadays the total amount is about 650 John Leon forests in Finland, and the total area covers about 800,000 hectares. And that 800,000 hectares is about 6% from the total privately owned forest in Finland. And the reasons behind this, I would say that the main reason was the comprehensive reform of the Act on John Leon Forests, which was made in 2003. And before that, it was only possible to establish John Leon Forest by the officials, and the majority were established through the basic land consolidation and as jobs for relocated settlements in the period 1930 to 1960. But after this reform, it was possible to establish jobs through agreements between forest owners, and these agreements are voluntary for the forest owners. And there is also some economical reasons. Taxation is slightly lighter than in the other private ownership forms, and it's possible to increase areas by buying real estates or incorporate real estates into John Leon Forest against shares in the job. It was possible before 2003. It was possible to buy real estates, but it wasn't possible to incorporate real estates into job against shares. It was possible only after that reform, and that's the I would say it's the key reason for the development. The importance of advisory services and comprehensive land or forest owner register is really great. And especially these four organizations and the role of this organization is very significant and in the entire field of private forestry. And without this, it's not possible, I would say. Nowadays, new jointly owned forests are mainly minor family forests, and increasing amount of jointly owned forests have been established by investors. Of course, there's those economical reasons too, and municipalities and parishes are also increasingly interested in jointly owned forest partnership. And from the map, you can see the location of our Kemijärvi jointly owned forest. It's in southern part of, actually it's northern part of Finland and in southern part of Lapland region. And actually the four biggest jointly owned forests are located in pretty much in that area in northern part of Finland. If you look at the advantages of jointly owned forest, I would say it's an excellent option to prevent fragmentation of forest ownership and forest real estate or forest properties. And it's one good way to raise the level of forest management nationwide. I'm really proud of that level already, but we have to do lots of work to maintain that level and then do things better. But long-term and well-planned, efficient forestry, it's that all about. But if we look at the sizes, median and average size compared jointly owned forest to other private forests in Finland, we can see that there is quite a big difference. And what comes to large-scale economics, I will say that it's much more easier to practice large-scale economics when you have bigger areas and you can sell more timber, and you have annual timber sales and so on, and you can have lower unit costs. Also in forest management actions, when you can offer bigger forest management areas to contractors. And I will say that the job can offer even and continuous profit for shareholders too, and it's quite a safe investment. And recreational values are really important nowadays, and for example, hunting possibilities are better when we are in bigger areas. And it's quite easy form of forest ownership. Shareholder doesn't have to be a forest expert or he can take a part of decision making as much as he or she wants, but it's not mandatory for the shareholder. And some challenges, change of the character of forest ownership. Most forest owners want their own real estate. They want to make their own decisions how to manage their forests when they are going to do timber sales and so on. And also the preconceptions against joint ownership. It still exists, but I think that we have to increase awareness that this kind of owner form is possible, and it's a good way to own forest. And administrational costs of jointly owned forest may be high if not controlled. For example, if the jointly owned forest is too small and you don't have annual timber sales and you don't have turnover, or the turnover is too low, then the costs may be gonna be too high, and it's not profitable anymore. Kemijärvi jointly owned forests. It has been established in 1935, so this year is our 19th anniversary, and we have quite big ceremonies in the summer. And our job is the third biggest in Finland, and it is established by land consolidation, basic land consolidation, and the total area at the point of establishment was about 41,000 hectares, and nowadays it's about 47,000 hectares, and from that area we have about 32,000 hectares of productive forest lands. And we have about 2,200 shareholding real estates, and about 1,900 shareholders who owns those shareholding real estates. And we have 9 members in the administrative board that partnership meeting has elected. And we have 2 employees, including me, forestry experts who take care of all the forestry operations in the whole area. And our forests are managed in accordance with the certificate of BFC and FSC. We have both certificates. We have purchased about 1,600 hectares of land and water areas during the year 2024 to 2050. And at the same time, we have incorporated about 740 hectares against shares. So there has happened a lot in that field too. And our turnover was about 5 million euros in the year 2024. And about 90% of that came from the forestry earnings. And we have also some other sources of profits, like land rental for different purposes. For example, wind power. We have 1 wind power park on production, and other one is hopefully coming in the near future. And we sell hunting and fishing permissions also, and etc. But in the end, it's all about forestry, and especially in Finland, and in our case, the long-term, efficient and well-planned forestry is in the interest of the shareholders, and it's in the interest of the forest industry, and it's the way to mitigate the climate change, I would say. We need forestry to ensure the growth of forests. Thank you very much.
Thanks you for this impressive work. And we move back to the south, to Portugal, to the landscape transformation program that is going to be presented by Hugo Almeida. Hugo is the Secretary General of FENAFloresta, the National Federation of Forestry Producers Cooperatives. He has held several positions in forest consultancy, policy advisory, and project management in several organizations, the government and the Portuguese Parliament. But the most important thing I would say from his bio is that he was my student 31 years ago. He took the forest mensuration course that I was teaching at the time, and I'm sure that had a huge impact on his career. So, Hugo, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the organization to invite us to be here, and saying that it's a really honor stay here in this room, in this institution. That is a very important institution for the development of the world, and the impact of these activities is very known by everyone. And of course, I'd like to, for me it's an honor, have João Azevedo as a host in this section. As he said, he was my professor, I don't know, but recent years. So I'm going to share with you the improving collective forest management in Portugal through the landscape transformation plan program. And saying that the FENAFloresta is a Portuguese national federation of the producer cooperatives. We are represented throughout the country by over 30 organizations. I will share with you these three items: rural land ownership in Portugal, big pictures, past and present initiatives to overcome fragmentation, and the future ahead of us. Like someone others colleagues yesterday, I also have here a question: could be Portugal a unique case in these fragmentation issues or ownership issues? Here we can see that Portugal, we have a different distribution of rural ownership when compared to Europe and even to the world. We have much more private ownership than public ownership. Both we have more or less 98% of private ownership. Therefore, we believe that the attempt to intervention in the territory has to look at this percentage of private area. This reality could cause us different problems related to the land ownership. We don't know how many forest owners there are in Portugal, maybe 2,100 or 400,000. As Picardo said yesterday, we don't know even if how many forest owners are in Europe. I figured this number, 16 million. I don't know if it's a number, but the question is, we don't know how are we. How many are we? We have 10.6 million rural ownerships, and I think this is the main issue different between all of the situation all over the countries. Our rural average rural ownerships area, it's around 0.78 hectares. If we compare with the average of the European area, we can see it's a very low average area. However, even we compare with the majority of the private owners in Europe, they have holding of less than 3 hectares. So it's still a big difference between the Portuguese reality. We have more or less 15% of the country without land registry. And this is another important figure, that is 20% of the rural ownership as no or unknown owner. In these two images, I believe David shows something similar to our fragmentation and dimension. Here we can see the impacts of the consequences of the fragmentation and size of the properties, and even the configuration of this holding. They are very long and not very wide. And another another point is these plots, maybe they has 3, 4, or 5 heirs by plot, so it's a complicated situation to pass through. As I said, it's a complex process. The impact of these features, of this fragmentation and small holdings, they impact our low profitability, then increased land abandonment, increased forest risks, fire risks, wildfires and pests, and low investment attractiveness. And we believe that to intervene and try to break this circle, we need to promote and invest in collective management of groups of forestry, forest properties. And to achieve this goal, we need to develop and invest in stable, most important is stable and lasting public support programs, because the necessary measures to pass through are necessary to generate. It's difficult because the necessary measures generate very long-term returns, and here we believe that in this process associations and cooperatives are crucial to the success of to break down this circle. Now I'm going to share with you the past and present initiatives to overcome fragmentation and trying to explain good examples that we have in Portugal. In Portugal, different governments have been trying to respond in recent years to break that circle by developing public policies to promote and to encourage the collective management of groups of forestry. Here are 2 public policy instruments, one established in 203 and the other one in 2023, and both has voluntary participation of forest owners. Shortly, ZIFs are a forest intervention area or zone, as someone talked yesterday, and are a continuous and limited territorial area made up mainly for forest areas and subject to the forest management plans and administrated by a single entity. As I said, forest owners participate in a voluntary way, and after 20 years, there are good figures that I shared. We have 2 million hectares with forest management plans, and they involved 32,000 voluntary forest owners. But through these years, there's been a public disinvestment in these areas, which has created major management problems and decline in the interest from forest owners. So again, more than ever, it's necessary specific programs for these entities effectively and collectively manage the territory. Once again, it's important, and we consider that that should be a continuous public investment because necessary measures generate long-term returns. And I think this is very important because we are in an activity that creates very long-term returns. Although public investment, we have here a very good example in north of Portugal, near where João lives, in Bragança. This association, APATA, managed 20 ZIFs. They aggregated 119,000 hectares. They involved 5,100 forest owners, and this is very important, they have 3,000 and 3,100 management agreements with the properties or the landowners, ownerships. In this figure, you can see how many hectares they manage in the early months of the 2025. They manage more or less of 200 hectares. We believe that the key of the success of this association is the commitment to the landowners. A lot of work that involve landowners in the decisions. They are the proximity and continuity of that relationship. They establish partnerships with universities, companies, and maybe the most important, it's the lot of work of our forest colleagues, and they believe that it's possible to do something and to respond to the problems. Other public initiative, it's a recent program developed in response to the impact of the wildfires of 2017, and this program, Integrated Landscape Management Areas. The program aims to define in the space and time of the interventions for the landscape transformation, land use conservation, and territorial valorization and revitalization, to enhance its resilience to wildfires, climate change, and ensure management for these areas over the next 20 years. Again, this accomplish of the ensured management of these areas over the next 20 years is very important to the success of this program. It was established in 2023. It aims to plans to transform to landscape transformation in 140,000 hectares. Again, the voluntary forest ownerships involvement, and they are funding by Portugal's Resilient and Recuperation Plan and public Portuguese funds. In this case, we see a plan to transform this landscape in 1,400 hectares. The plan transformation, it's trying to plan to transform and convert 28% of the land, enhance actions in 36% of the area, and there is 5% no undergo interventions. In this case, 65% of the area has already joined on the plan, and they already has contracts to 91% of the total area as guaranteed the funding to manage for the next 20 years. The alert is the transformation has to be done until June 2025. Here it's we know we have more time, one more year to do this, but in all cases it's a very short time to implement this transformation. for the future or the next steps, we believe that the forest owners associations and forest cooperatives are crucial to the process of transforming management and the landscape and the success of collective management. Why? Because they ensuring territorial cohesion, and they know the community and create a relation of trust, and they support and they give technical support to the community. Specific measures to encourage collective land management. It's a European problem, like we saw in this yesterday and in this panel. And this collective land management to increase it's important to increase the profitability and forest owners and forest holdings. We believe that we have to do something in the next multi-annual funding frameworks. They already began discussion in Brussels, and we must guarantee public funds for collective forest management in the future multi-annual funding frameworks. Synergy with various stakeholders in service provisions, raw material supply, research and development, and the innovation projects are very important to the success and to implementing these projects and all the transformation that we need. And I put in this in the last one because I believe it's the most important, that there is no single solution. Multiple approach can be adapted and developed in all areas, but we have here good examples. We can adapt each other to manage the problem. So thank you.
Thanks, Hugo. It's a very ambitious program. I wish the best for you and for all of us. These were three very nice and inspiring initiatives in terms of solutions for this issue of forest ownership fragmentation. But I think now it's your turn. It's time to go to Mentimeter and choose or write questions for our guests, for participants in this panel. So we have one question already. That is, how can forests... Okay, I missed it. Oh, there is the, I cannot see them here. Okay. Okay, so top question at the moment is to Ilaria. How the forest owners get to know about the platform, Forest Share?
Yes, so basically when we launched the platform, there was a big press release in Italy, either press, either radio, television, so people get in touch with us because of this. Because as we said, this forest fragmentation is a big, well, now I don't know how to say, problem or because Professor Pettenella said it's not always a problem, but opportunity, let's say. So there was a big press release. We also won a prize, and that's why we had also for free a marketing campaign. And this helped us in order to be known in Italy. Of course, in this project, believed also PFC Italy that helped us in spreading the word, and also the Italian ministry, because Alessandra Stefani helped us also as well in spreading the word. Right now, we try to involve people going locally and telling them, you know, we are doing this, do you want to enter to be part of it? And sometimes, even when they see, of course, good example on how it worked, they reach us to understand how to enter and what they can do. But basically also, if you're interested, as I said before, we have also social media and also our forestsharing.it website.
Okay, thank you, Ilaria. The next question is to you, and is what have been the key elements of the Finnish law of 2003 that has attracted those thousands of forest owners of many different types to set up new jointly owned forests?
Thank you. That was a good question. I would say that the main reason is that it's voluntary-based agreements that the forest owner forest owners can do, and because before that change of in that law, it wasn't possible. So I think that is the main reason that forest owners can do these kind of agreements based on voluntary, and also that one reason is that taxation is lower, like I said, and the possibility to incorporate real estate to the jointly owned forest against shares. So I think these 3 points are the behind that development.
Okay, thanks. The next question is related to one topic that we discussed yesterday about the participation of the state and what was called sometimes regulation in opposition to bottom-up approaches. That is, to what extent should there be public policies, national or European, to promote collective forest management? Maybe, David, do you want to take that?
Sorry, I was reading the long list of questions, very challenging.
Yeah, all of them.
Can you repeat me?
Yeah, this one. To what extent should there be public policies to promote collective forest management?
No, I was not prepared, but also the question is very complex. Well, let's understand the concept of collective forest management, because that's a bit ambiguous term, in the sense that in many countries, especially in Southern Europe and Eastern Europe, we have a very long tradition of collective ownership. And that has been a very useful institution to fight against land fragmentation, because normally in most of the legislation of the country, a collective ownership cannot be sold. Even if there is a total consensus of the members of the collective organization. So I think that is an element of stability, a bit inflexible sometimes, because many times you are also not allowed to change the system of land use. We have seen in many countries the need of introducing a new form of land use, for example, connected with tourist development in collective ownership institution, and that was forbidden. In some way, stopping or reducing the possibility of developing this collective form of land management. So these are structural aspects of the traditional collective ownership system that have a very positive but some negative elements. Then there are the new form of collective management, like we frequently speak about community forest. Community forests, for example, are in Central and North of Europe. I'm thinking also to UK. Very nice way of involving local people in some new form of management with the use of land that sometimes is owned by municipality for social activity, tourism, green care activities. There are a lot of very good examples in Scotland, in Wales, of community forest that are, let's say, an engine of local development, providing services, so not much connected with the wood production, sometimes much connected with non-wood forest products, with tourism, recreation, social inclusion, health use, health forest, forest therapy, and so on. I think that is a very dynamic opportunity. And finally, speaking about how to reform and how to involve fragmented blocks of land in innovative solution, I think that there are two classes of solution. The new institutions, like those ones that we have seen in Finland and in Portugal, new form of organization, cooperatives, for example, shareholders organization, and then there are the contractual solution. I'm thinking, for example, with what we in Italy see as and call as the accordi di foresta, contratti di foresta, contratti di rete. These are a sort of contracts for providing services. I think that this set of instruments, there are a lot of examples, are a bit more, let's say, light, less expensive in terms of transaction cost. They may be useful for a temporary solution of some problems. They give a lot of flexibility, sometimes creating institution, creating a cooperative, supporting, financing this new institution is risky and expensive, and even sometimes not very sustainable. So I really suggest to look at these two groups of instruments and to find, in relation to the problem and potential of each local context, the best solution, also as a combination of the two groups of instruments.
Okay, thanks, David. So next question is directed to Hugo. Hugo, could you mention the key factors of the success of the ZIFS initiative that has been able to attract, on average, 1,600 forest owners annually during more than 20 years?
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned in the presentation, I think the key factor are the commitment to the landowners, during and the continuous relationship with the landowners, the continuous and the continuous technical support. They are the same people that association. It's very important to the landowners know the faces of the technical and the engineers and all the persons who works in the association. So that create the proximity and continuity in the relationships. And I believe on the basis is the relationship between the landowners and the technicals and the association. And when you create this commitment, we think it's a good path to the success. The other thing it's we during and along these years, this relationship could create and we can make contracts with the landowners, as David said. And these contracts, the landowners pay a fee for the management, and the profits are going to the landowners. So they realize that it's possible to create value by management the forest areas. So I think we believe it's this key for the success.
Okay, so we are about to finish. All the good things come to an end. And so I'd like to thank the participation of the 4 panelists in this session, especially those who brought very inspiring possible solutions for fragmentation in your countries, in your regions, and possibly in other parts of Europe. I would like just to highlight a few issues that I wrote, that there are many initiatives all over Europe of the most diverse types, and this diversity has to be shared with all the forest owners and the policy makers. And I'm sure the SMURF project will be involved in assuring that all these initiatives and their results can be used and applied by the entire European community of forest owners and forest consultants and forest policy makers. So that's it. Thanks all for being here and for attending the session. And I think we go in a coffee break, right, Ricardo?
Thank you very much from my side as well. Well, be sure to keep the networking alive during the coffee break. Ready, just outside. See you in 30 minutes. Thank you very much. I would like to kindly ask to Uwe, Alex, Alessandra, Mariana, Nuno, to jump on the stage. Thank you. We're going to start in a few minutes. The next session, number 7, is dedicated to the global value chains and new business models. It is presented and moderated by Uwe Kies. Uwe is the chair of the Wood for Bauhaus Alliance, a policy platform to promote more wood use in the building sector, and also secretary of the InnovaWood Network, the European Network for Wood Science, Research, Innovation and Education, and also a partner of the SMURF project, and a friend. Thank you very much for your presence, Uwe. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ricardo. It's my pleasure to host this session today with 4 eminent speakers. The session is called, it's about value chains, so global value chains and new business models. The idea is to look at how, forests are suppliers of raw material for the many different value chains. It's not only about wood, it's also about other types of forest products. But of course, we will also address the wood supply issue. And the question is actually, how can, these new developments in global markets, in European and national markets as well, trigger maybe more interest in forest use and actually become also a driver for mobilization, smallholder forests. And that's why we would like to have a look at examples from several countries. And I would first give the first word to Alex Pinter. He's the of the Wood Cluster Styria, a cluster organization in Austria, in the most forested green heart of Austria, I think you call this region, Styria. And he has a lot of experience as a project manager. He's also a forest owner, manager of a forest enterprise, and he has even been a member of the parliament, of the regional parliament in Styria. So you have actually really worked on many aspects of forestry. And I think I will give you immediately the floor to you and hear about this nice example of the Wood Cluster Styria.
Thanks, Uwe, and I'm happy to be here and be able to talk about how we do things in Styria and also about the Wood Cluster Styria. So I'm just waiting until my presentation is here and it's already there. As Uwe mentioned, I'm the CEO of the Wood Cluster Styria and I'm a forest owner myself, 123 hectares. So when you don't find me behind the computer, I might as well be in the forest with the chainsaw. Just a few brief words on our organization. As the Wood Cluster Styria, we are a networking organization. We have around 160 companies in our network, and we are also doing some exchange between politics, industry, and research and development. our network. We're, as I said, around 160 companies. Most of them are small to medium-sized enterprises with around 20,000 employees, 55% of those in the manufacturing companies, and with around 15 research and development facilities. Just a very short view about the project. It's not going to do a deep dive here. That would be a bit too much. Just wanted to spread out the word. There's a lot happening. We're only 13 people in our organization, but we're working on 15 projects at the moment. I think, of course, I'm proud of my organization, but we're doing quite valuable work all along the value chain. So, transformation is the topic of the hour, and I'm talking about transformation in digital forestry, transformation in the building and product sector, and transformation in market models. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the new developments that are happening there. The first topic is called For Forest Innovation, Climate Smart Forestry, and it's real fascinating what you can do on the management level on the forestry side. I'm going to explain this to you. The objective is making forest development a tangible experience. What we want to do is that we want to describe what today's management decisions mean for the future. In this project, we can simulate different management decisions and how they play out. And we do this on the one side by designing a three-dimensional model, which you can run on a web-based app, and it's for free. But also the economic data are available there, as well as the data about biodiversity. So I'm going to show that just in a few slides very shortly. What are the target groups? We want to address forest owners, especially those living far from the property, maybe having lost touch a little bit, forestry operations, decision makers, forestry consultants, and also forestry researchers and just the public. We want to talk about the forest and tell people what the management decisions mean for our future. And these are, of course, also just forest enthusiasts, not owners exclusively. One tool I have to describe, because it's part of the project that we have available in Styria, is dynamic forest typing. And it's a real fascinating tool we have for a few years now. In Styria, you can practically choose any spot on the map, and you will get a detailed recommendation for the tree species and how they deal with climate change. So it means by a scale of 30 by 30 meters, you pick the spot on the map, and as you can see on the slide, with a very simple traffic light system, you have the most common tree species, and then you have either a dark green, a light green, a yellow, or a red color next to the tree species, and then you see how it can cope with climate change. And we have two climate change scenarios, RCP 4.5 and 8.5, but we're basically calculating with 8.5 since it's the more likely scenario. And it's free of charge. You can try it on waldbauberater.at. So what's the databases for this project? It's the dynamic forest typing, as I just mentioned. Then it's the Austrian forest inventory. We have good data there. And we're also using a growth model. It's called CALDIS. And with this growth model, we can simulate different management decisions. And we're working with 4 different management scenarios. And this is just a spruce with the RCP of 8.5. You see the risk chart here. And you see it's not looking very good for the spruce in the year 2100. So these are the forest inventory sample plots. It's around 2,500 in Styria. We have the 4 management scenarios. We have the scenario of no management, business as usual, meaning we're just doing what we always did so far. We're trending towards a climate resilient deciduous forest, meaning 75% deciduous forest, 25% coniferous forest. And we're trending towards climate resilient coniferous forest. 75%, 25%. Very important, we're not telling anybody what to do. We're just showing if you do this, what's the effect? So the management decision is still up to the owner. How does it work? You have the web app, and you pick your spot on the map, then you put in your elevation level, and then you hit the button to the forest of the future. What happens behind the scenes? The 15 nearest inventory plots are averaged out from the same forest growth region and from the altitude zone you chose. And this selection affects the forest, the background, and the ecosystem services. What happens next? is the real fascinating stuff, because you're getting a 3D image. You can choose two different scenarios, left and right, and you can choose which two you want to compare. Then you hit the play button and you see how in three-dimensional graphics, how the forest is changing. And you even can choose different views. You see it on the upper left. You can choose plane view, drone view, or even the ground view. So that's very impressive. And this is, of course, not where it ends. Then you hit the button, more infos to the forest, and then you get exact data about the climate fitness, about the tree species, about the stored carbon dioxide, about carbon dioxide uptake, about timber harvesting, about the financial data, structural diversity, and deadwood. And then you even can hit the button more info. And one more word, on the top you see the 4 scenarios, and you can just immediately compare those. And then you even have the economic data here, also about the wood harvest, and I can say this is very accurate. I just had wood harvest in my forest, and it was exactly the same number as here in this model, so that was pretty impressive. And this is the address for the web app. It's available for free, and you can all try it. I'm also happy I'm here until tomorrow evening. If anybody wants to try it together with me, I'm more than happy we can do it together. For forestinnovation.com. Now off to the next topic, and this is about the use of new wood tops in the construction area. This project is called Unistrand. It's reimagining panel-shaped wood construction materials. What is it about? You don't need to read all of this. I'm going to explain to you. Just bear with me. It's using strand-oriented boards for the construction sector. So you have the efficiency of strands, meaning as compared to cross-laminated timber, where the efficiency is around 40–45%, you have an efficiency of 80% here. And also, you're using lower grade assortments, meaning you can use other wood species than spruce, which is very important because we're also talking about the climate resilient tree species here. And with this project, we're taking these strands out of other tree species, cross-laminate them, and have a new element for the construction sector for multi-story buildings. And the tree species, of course, this is important for forest owners, because if you use those new tree species, you also want to know what can be done with those tree species. And the tree species examined in Unistrand are oak, poplar, spruce, larch, beech, Douglas fir, pine, and birch. So this is quite a big assortment, and all of these, of course, are being tested. And in the end, we will use those who work best for the construction sector. But you see a lot of potential for new tree species. Products, very exciting field, especially in Styria, where we have Weitzer Wood Solutions who are deep into this topic. And also, just thinking about the last project, this project is also about tree species that are climate resilient. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. But the potential is also important for the automobile sector. You have 35% weight reduction and 45% less carbon dioxide possible. And this is just the beginning. You have a bus step. Doesn't sound so spectacular, but if you think about it, what's possible and what the potential is, it's huge. And there's a big difference how wood has been used centuries ago now. Because if you think where wood comes from, wood has been in the automobile industry. Wood has been in planes. It's already been there. But wood is, of course, very heterogenic. But what we can do now, we can digitalize the process and the product, and we can plan it. And that's the big difference. We can provide a constant level of material, and that's the big difference. And there are several applications of what you can do with wood these days, which I'm going to show you just now. So, landing gear of an airplane, that's quite spectacular, right? Snowmobile, and the construction basis is made out of wood. Wind turbine. This is a small-scale wind turbine in a DNA helix form. It's thought on the regional level. Side impact bar. No kidding. You can build a side impact bar of wood and it passes all the tests, and it's 30% lighter than the fossil product. So the question you have to ask is, it's not what can you build with wood, but what can you not build with wood? If that is possible, I mean, what's not possible? And this is what we have to tell the public, you know? Another example that I'm very happy to show is like, why not build an entire car of wood? This has been presented at the Design Month in Styria. That's me with the head of the company. It's called the Cart Brothers. It's obviously a cart, but the project for 2025, they're having like a full-size four-seater with solar panels on the roof even. So that's quite spectacular. And of course, the media is eager to tell those stories too. So there's a lot possible with wood. And just speaking about, okay, there was one thing I wanted to mention, I forgot this with this slide, is the tree species that's being used here are poplar, birch, beech, and paulownia. So we have also climate resilient tree species here, which is a really cool thing. And one more topic I wanted to get into is new market models. So there's this project called Forest Eco Value that we're currently working in, and it's about monitoring the forest ecosystems for the forest owner, which is a very important topic. Just as an overview, we in Styria are having a living lab, which is the whole state of Styria, and we want to make ecosystems monitorized for the forest owners. And in our case, we're using biodiversity and carbon sequestration. So speaking of biodiversity, it should be very simple, and it should also address really small forest owners, speaking of size, half hectare maybe, that are not deep into like forestry. But they should be attracted by having a possibility to earn money with those types of ecosystem services. And how it works, I'm gonna explain very shortly, just so if you have an overview over the project. It's an Interreg Alpine Space project, and we're addressing different types of forest ecosystem services. We're working with a reverse auction system. So we have somebody who gives us money. Without money, it doesn't work. And this money, in this case, comes from a bank. It comes from Raiffeisen Landesbank Steiermark. But in future, we want to have just the industry or whoever is interested in giving money to forest owners for the sustainable management, and they should be made available to give money to this project. So they give us some money. We give this money to Waldverband Steiermark, who are also here with me today, and then we have the forest owners, and they can decide on the measures they want to do. They can say, okay, I have a tree that's degrading, and I can either harvest it or I can leave it in the forest for biodiversity. And if I do that, in my case, that's 300 euro. And the next forest owner can say, okay, I want to address carbon sequestration. I have monoculture of spruce here, but I'm saying, okay, in the next 5 years, I'm gonna put new tree species in there, and that's 800 euro. And they can apply for the reverse auction system, and the money goes to those where with the least money you have the biggest effect. And this is evaluated by the University of Graz. So as long as there's money, forest owner A has the best offer, gets some money. Forest owner B is second best, there's still money in the pot, he's getting something. Third best, still something there. Fourth, sorry. So this is a brief overview of some transformation topics in the wood industry. I hope you enjoyed the topics that I presented. I'm here all day, all night for questions, and thank you for listening, and happy to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex, very much for this very quick ride through different innovation topics. I think this really shows us the breadth of the possibilities we actually, if we connect forests to the value chains, and the possibilities to, also use new tree species and new innovative approaches. So I think this was the first very inspiring example. Let's go to the next example. Mariana Ferreira is the director of Luresa Resinas. It's a family-owned producer of resins based in Spain, but you have lived and worked in the US and Brazil, and there are several examples, I think, also from that company that I mean from the international perspective. So I would like to give you the floor for your presentation about Luresa Resinas, and let's hear it. Thanks. The presentation, I think, is coming. Yeah.
This is making me suffer.
Is it okay? Yes? There it is. Sorry for the waiting.
No problem. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the organization, CESE4, the FAO for receiving us, and all the other institutions for the kind invitation to participate in this first conference of small forest holdings. It is a true honor for me to be here. So yesterday I was chatting with Nuno before the conference started, and I was telling him that I was a little bit embarrassed because I didn't have my presentation sent yet. But by the end of the day, I was kind of glad I didn't, and I ran back to the hotel to rethink it a little bit. So some changes. Yesterday's session was very intense, and after that, I would just like to add a little bit more complexity to what we have heard and pose a couple of questions off track. Please do not crucify me immediately. Kindly listen to my case. What if small forest holdings are not the forest owners? What if ecosystemic services are not just provided by forest owners and should instead be paid to someone else? Further questions will pop around the way. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about natural resin and its value chain, and especially its importance in small forest holdings. As you know, resin is a non-wood forest product like nuts, cork, mushrooms, honey, and so on. So I kindly ask you to listen to my presentation and make the parallel with all those other non-wood forest products, a little bit like wood logging or resin. Don't think about mushroom collections for self-consumption, okay? Not for leisure. The idea of a nice Saturday in the forest with your basket and brushes and the schnauzers and the kids. Think scale. Think about collecting mushrooms in forest holdings for a multinational supermarket chain that has to deliver mushrooms in all countries in Europe and competes with mushrooms that come from China or North Africa or Brazil. And you have to be competitive. Suddenly, it's not so poetic, right? Not so closer to nature. And yet, the cool aspect of non-wood forest products is that the forest is still there. We have not logged it. I come from the private sector and I represent a multinational family company based in Brazil, speaking about Brazil. So this company is vertically integrated and operates from seeds and seedlings to forest management, resin harvesting, until third industrial transformation, all around natural resin. We also have industrial unit in Spain, that's where I'm based, and now in Portugal as well. So I'll give you a little bit of worldwide perspective of resin dynamics and eventually come back to the starting point in Europe. So this is a glimpse of our operations. So coming back to the issue, natural resin, as you all know, is the viscous, sticky substance that some trees, pine trees in this case, expel as defense mechanism to an external aggression. So we generally call tapping or tapping activity to the harvesting of natural resin, meaning the operation that a person carries out to collect natural resin from live pine trees. So basically we're talking about a person that goes from pine tree to pine tree, making small incisions in the tree's trunk and collecting the resin that the trees expel kilo per kilo. This pine oleoresin is then taken to a plant for first industrial transformation, where by physical processes you get two main products, gum rosin, gum turpentine. Gum rosin is the solid part, the sticky part, and gum turpentine, the liquid part, the volatile part. Perhaps you've heard of them. And then these two products are then further transformed and widely used in chemical industry. Spooky word, chemical. So archaeological remains discovered in the past years show that natural resin was harvested by the Neanderthals during the Middle Paleolithic period here in Europe, here in Italy to be more precise, and also in Spain. I don't know, perhaps in China there are also archaeological remains, perhaps in Mexico, I'm not aware. But at that time, those guys already knew about the potential of natural resin. They knew how to mix it with beeswax, for example, to get the right viscosity, and they used it widely in several applications, namely the ones connected with adhesives and sealing properties. Throughout history till today, amongst the various uses of natural resin, it's also mandatory to mention the naval stores like Noah's Ark here, for example. In the Bible, God instructs Noah to pitch the ark. This is one of the first written references to resin's applications. I don't know if you know, but our industry was once known as the naval stores due to the use of resin in naval construction. Only recently has the name pine chemicals become widespread. A major turnover for natural resin occurred during the Industrial Revolution, of course. The plant that you see here is actually our plant in Spain, founded in 1862 as La Resinera Segoviana. By then until today, the techniques have evolved tremendously, as well as the industrial process and applications. And the factor scale that we were mentioning back there has, of course, taken major importance. We are no longer thinking about resins for self-consumption, like mushrooms, like those prehistoric guys. We are thinking resins at industrial scale, competing all over the world. And we are talking about natural resins that come from harvesting of live pine trees, like we do in Spain and in Portugal, like we do in Brazil, competing with other natural resins that come as byproduct of the paper industry, or of course, just plain fossil fuel-based resins, what we call hydrocarbon resins. It's the jungle out there. No, I mean, it's the wild pine forest out there. It's fight for survival. You're as closer to wild nature as it gets. And we can find resin derivatives in hundreds of day-to-day products like adhesives, inks, depilatory wax, toothpaste, chewing gum, soft drinks, all sorts of coatings, including citrics, fragrances, tires, road markings, soldering flux, and medication, and so on and so on. And so I would like to play now the same game that we have played yesterday, and ask, hands up for those who brushed their teeth today. Great. Hands up for those who used perfume today. Hands up for those who like Coke or Fanta. Hands up for those who like wine, like Retsina wine, for example. So now please think that behind all those products, there is a lonesome tapper that walks the forest every day, that knows each tree and each step of its way. See, it's starting to get more poetic again. Just look at the landscape. And furthermore, this tapper will spot a forest fire previous to anybody else. And he will detect a beetle or a nematode or a wasp or a dying tree, perhaps even before the forest owner. And he will walk the paths, and he will clean the low branches, and he will protect the forest with his presence. And his crop is present in hundreds of our daily life products. And so I ask, is it possible that natural resin is not sustainable? I always say it is, okay? But to be honest, at the end of the day, sometimes it's not. Everything looks perfect, I know, but sometimes profitability is just not there. Depends on the market. Profitability is not there for the forest owner, it is not there for the tapper, and it is not there for the industry either. And this is what we have been witnessing for the past decades. So the graphics here were shown during the last conference of the Brazilian Pine Chemicals Institute by Ricardo Lacerda Soares late last year. You can see the geographic shift in natural resin production in less than 20 years. I don't know if you can see the little legend at the side of the graphic. So the blue is China production, the orange is Brazilian production, and Spanish and Portuguese production. I'm sorry, we cannot see them. And keep in mind that during the 60s, Portugal and Spain together represented 170,000 tons of natural resin. At that time, China was still the biggest producer, but these two countries, Portugal and Spain, ruled the worldwide resin market. And previous to that, the French did. And previous to that, the Americans did. But today, Portuguese and Spain's production is 10 times less than in the 60s. And it represents only a little bit more than 1% of total world production. We are almost invisible. Total volume of natural resin of Portugal and Spain together is not enough to supply our plant in Spain. And we have 6 transformation units in Spain, plus 4 or 5 in Portugal, so something's wrong. There is not enough European resin for all players. I mean, there has to be a lot of demand. The thing is that European resin is not competitive, and harvesting is endangered. Tappers in Europe are in danger of extinction. Our best estimation is about 600 surviving individuals of tappers in Spain, perhaps 300, a little bit more in Portugal. I don't know the exact numbers. But we do have the industrial plants, so we just import the resin we need. A little bit like Ilaria showed, 80% of the wood in Italy is imported. So I would say that 99% of resin used in Europe is imported. And there are many challenges for natural resin activity nowadays. So labor is one of them. Resin harvesting is labor intensive. We need people in the forest, we need tappers. If profit is not enough, and even if profit is enough, if conditions are not good, tappers will move to other jobs, to other professions. There is no professionalization of the tapping activity. There is no intergenerational transition. We heard about this yesterday regarding forest owners as well. There is no social recognition of the tappers' ecosystemic services. Who wants to go to the forest and harvest resin manually? There is a problem with property, of course, the scale problem, the fragmentation that we heard of yesterday and today, but not only that. Even if you have big properties, for example, public forests in Portugal, they are not tapped. And yet, there are major European fundings in Portugal for resin activity, a major PRR project. So what kind of example from the administration is this? It's the resin paradox. We also have overregulation, of course. We heard about that as well yesterday. And resin, further to that, is in this administrative limbo. Sometimes we are forestry, sometimes we are industry, sometimes we go to chemicals. It's a total nightmare. It's like what's happening right now. Just trust me, you don't want to hear about chemical regulation. And profitability is a challenge. I mean, it's difficult to compete with byproducts, and it's difficult to compete with hydrocarbon resins. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. But I don't want you to get the wrong impression. There are many opportunities out there for non-wood forest products and for natural resins. Yesterday's session actually gave me a great idea. I have to consult my fellow industry colleagues, of course, but I would like to ask the audience, what do you think of, instead of being called pine chemicals, we are called closer to nature chemicals? I need to ask Matthew for some help to spread this idea within the Commission. And I also need to ask Ignacio for some help to help me create some demand for this. I hope you can help me both, all the audience. I mean, isn't this what the Green Deal is all about? Renewable green stocks, green feedstocks, decarbonization, bioeconomy, transition from fossil, providing decent jobs in rural areas, mitigate climate change? What do you prefer? An expensive natural resin that was collected in a European forest, a small forest holding by a worthy tapper, or a cheap imported hydrocarbon resin, not even produced in Europe, because even hydrocarbon plants in Europe are closing. And I just hope the hydrocarbons don't buy out all the carbon credits and all the ecosystemic services provided by the last tappers, and just leave us as the chemicals. I mean, that would be the last blast. Fortunately, the paper mills and biorefineries are thriving in the Nordics, and there is hope for natural resins in Europe, at least those ones. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Mariana, for this very interesting example of, a very traditional forest use, which has certainly difficulties today to find a place in this globalized market economy. But still, I find it very inspiring how we can actually build on knowledge in our sector, and that this is maybe a direction where we should also go, look into, old forest uses, old knowledge about how to make forest viable for owners. And yeah, thanks for this example.
Thank you.
And we will continue, I think, in the discussion also later. But let's have a look at another very eminent, I would say, industry sector, also very important for forest owners. That's the panel industry. And Nuno will present several initiatives linked to Zona Arauco. Zona Arauco is a leading panel producer with factories in Portugal, Germany, and Chile. And Nuno has experience also working for private forest owner organizations, such as the Union of the Mediterranean Forests. And he was also the member of the board of several key organizations, such as PFC, FSC, and the Portuguese Society of Forest Science. So Nuno Calado is currently the Wood Regulation and Sustainability Manager of Zona Arauco, and we are happy to hear your experiences and insights. Nuno, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I would like to start by thanking the Smurf partners for inviting us to share our ideas and some reflections and recommendations for at least for brainstorming, because we really think, and today we were, as I was coming here with Pablo, we were talking that the outcomes of this project really need to obviously to learn from the experience in these jointly managed initiatives, but I truly believe that they must be somehow disruptive in order to change things, because for many years we are discussing how to overcome the small land ownership, but with very few success examples, we still lack a lot of development for this kind of solutions. But let me start. So Zona Arauco, as Uwe was saying, we are a wood-based panel producers. So we were born in 2016 as Zona Arauco, as a joint venture between a Portuguese company which is called Zona Indústria, and Arauco, which is a Chilean-based company, very large with different kind of forest investments. But we have operations, industrial operations in Portugal, Spain, and in Germany, and also in South Africa, and we have impregnated paper and resin plants, so we also use a lot of chemicals. We have in Spain sawnwood and pellets plants, and we have in Portugal and Spain 12 wood waste recycling centers, and I will explain you after why. And we are building 2 additional one in Portugal. These are some examples of our products. So we produce particle board, medium intensity fiber board, and oriented strand board, and we use it for furniture, for interior design, and for construction, with this kind of solutions of decorative products where we can give textures and colors to these wood-based panels, and even for construction with OSB and fiber insulation boards. But starting by this as a value chain, so the pine industrial value chain is has a huge diversity of markets, products, agents. We sell and buy in different stages of this value chain that starts obviously at the forest owners, and then we can, as a wood-based panels, I can buy virgin fiber woods from first thinnings, for example, in the forest. Then I will buy byproducts of a sawmill. Then I will get end-of-life wood waste, and all of this is my wood sourcing that I use. And this is like one of the best examples of a circular bioeconomy that is now such in the trends. Addressing wood availability, and we can see here the two information sources. So FAO with this projection explaining how the wood consumption will increase until 2050. And AFRI, a consultant, saying this under a similar approach, that we will have an increase, but that we have a gap. So we have a wood gap. And this is the first sentence that I would like you to retain, that according to these scenarios, according to what is currently happening in the market, we will have a huge increase in the wood consumptions. We have, under the traditional forest sector, several investments already ongoing for our furniture, for more construction, for more buildings, so that sort of things. And we have under development another initiatives that will impact the wood availability. This structural building materials that Uwe knows very well, that are increasing, and it will increase a lot more if the EU regulation adapts to these needs. We have the packaging materials, we have the cellulose textiles, we have the liquid biofuels and biochemicals. So all of this is happening, and it is expected that will increase much more. And alongside with this, we have the disruptive wood supply that happens because of forest fires, of storms, or pest outbreaks. And one other key element, which is the bioenergy. And when I mean bioenergy that burns wood that has applications for material, and that is also a huge player in this disruptive approach. So the main drivers that are leading this is decarbonization, and on the other side, biodiversity. And we are a business-to-business company, so we address clients that are also businesses, like furniture producers, that sort of things. And when when I meet with them in order to talk about sustainability issues, they ask us about two things: decarbonization. So what are we doing regarding decarbonization? What are the targets? What are, if we want to increase renewables, that sort of things. And the other issues is circular economy. So recyclability. What is the the recyclability content of my products, if I have targets to increase wood waste in my products. So that sort of things are at least for now, the main concerns. Biodiversity is not yet a concern. They ask us about certification, FSC, PFC, so that sort of things, and some concerns about UDR also. I will skip this because this is just an example of the small forest owners, the land reality that Hugo has already addressed. I would just highlight that in Portugal, for example, the areas where we source more pine is the north. It has an average area of 1.3 hectares, and the central region is 0.6 hectares. So it's very, very, very small, as you mentioned. And another thing that I would highlight is that 51% of the land deals were under the mortise clause. So just because someone dies and the RHS gets the land, so this is the main driver of the land deals. And scale. So scale is very, very important because it plays a crucial role in forest management, because it will allow several things that we have been addressing today. So risk mitigation, fixed costs dilution, cost reduction. It will allow viable operations, the mechanization of forest operations. It will allow the long-term investments with this strategic approach. It will allow landscape approach that we already mentioned yesterday, multi-product and multi-functional forest, and the long-term supply deals, which is also quite important. This is regarding wood or even for ecosystem services. And this is, I believe, the bottleneck that has caused all the problems, the lack of profitability, the risk exposure, all of that is enabling the forest owners to mitigate this issue. So what, as a company, we are doing? So we are starting from the starting point. We are testing different species, provenances, and families of pines in Portugal. So here we take the opportunity of using the forest genetic know-how of our shareholder Arauco, that has decades of investigation with several pines. But what we are testing here in Portugal is Radiata pine, and the idea is to have solutions to pass that information to forest owners in order to allow them to know for their reality what is the best family or species or provenance that will be more profitable in his estate. Just by selecting the most adequate tree, he should have access to a higher productivity and a higher profitability. We are also what I call getting inside the forest owners' pains through the Enterre project that Carlos Marinho talked about yesterday. So Sonai Arauco is not a shareholder or nothing like that. We are a forest service provider as an operational manager. But we, in this last year since the project started, we have gotten really deep into the context of leasing forests, licensing, forest operations, contractors dealing. So all of that, and this business, it has been a huge experience. And for example, just to give you an example of the impact of scale, when I am managing the trial, so each trial, I will mention that, but each trial is more or less 3 or 4 hectares, so it's like a small land parcel of land. And when I compare the same costs of managing this trial with the costs of managing larger sites like Enterre, the same costs are 30 to 35% higher. So obviously, this will have a huge impact on the profitability of the investment under small-scale land ownership. So jointly managing large scales, it has to be the solution because it has a huge impact on profitability. We are also making the increase in the knowledge transfer to other projects, which is the Floresta Sonai or Sonai Forest, that aims to work as a forest lab. This is obviously a first kickoff of an ecosystem services, because when all the SONAI is a Portuguese group with different kind of businesses, from retail, communications, and ourselves also, when we were addressing the decarbonization of our operations, the idea came up to use forest as an offset, not as a formal, so it doesn't have any kind of credits, but each company calculates their own emissions. They are verified, and then we select the emissions of the fleet of our cars in order to be compensated through afforestation. And what we do, this is under a project of the electrification of the fleet. So, and we have until 2030 to be 100% full electric. And how fast each company electrifies his own fleet, it will use obviously less hectares of land to offset, and it works as a cost on carbon to work. And we are using that financing to create these forest labs in order to raise awareness and to increase knowledge transfer. Also, to forest-wise, large collaborative projects that we among other companies are doing with very good results, and through Centro Pinos, the association that represents the pine sector in Portugal, we have been developing several issues that I will address also after. Just really quick an overview on this forest R&D project. So we are testing 5 different species of different countries, some from Portugal, Spain, France, Australia, and Chile, with different families in provenance. This is around 16 different trials, and we are getting very good results, and we aim to, as I mentioned before, to pass that knowledge to the forest owners in order to have better solutions for selection of the forest species. And then to finalize, just some conclusions and reflection that we can discuss after regarding the land structure and landowners. So I truly believe that the forest owner should have a star treatment every time a forest owner is going to sell or to buy a forest estate. A band should appear with music and confettis, because he is going to make an investment in order to consolidate land. So this has to be really a priority, with a completely free procedure, zero taxes, zero everything, a specific person to help him, give me the papers, I will handle to you. So a specific approach to this. Obviously, if he wants to buy land, if he wants to increase his forest estate, a credit line with subsidized loans, that could be have a bonus. If he wants to increase his forest land, would also be a good solution. And I will recommend that, at least as a pilot, for example, there should be a program for forest owners organization that have the access and know the owners, in order to create contiguous or continuous forest units from 5 hectares. So they should identify their own landowner that wants to sell to others, and to create that kind of solutions, and to be paid for that service. And also public land consolidation programs that, as mentioned before, happened to farming activities, normally for irrigation purposes, but I think that will be also a solution for forests, at least under certain conditions. So one of my questions is if can the SMURF project develop a cost-benefit analysis on this kind of solutions. They are expensive, but the added value that they can deliver, if it can compensate. At least I'm not aware of this kind of studies to forest consolidation. So if there are, sorry for my ignorance. Regarding the active forest management, and for example, taking the example that Hugo mentioned before, regarding the ZIF, the forest intervention zones, one of the problems was the lack of a long-term formal joint management. So It was EU funded, so when the funding ended, it all stopped. And that is a problem. This kind of solutions, in order to mobilize and engage small landowners, lead long-term formal arrangements, long-term funding in order to and obviously to promote mixed financing models, obviously in order to engage private investments. This will need realistic profitability, returns and risk assessment in order to engage forest industries and key investors. This is not philanthropy or patronage, okay? This is investment. So this is most likely would involve that this kind of investment, of investors will be involved in management participation. So this is different from sponsorships or philanthropy. This is a different scenario. And my question to all of you is if this private funding can overcome this exclusive reliance on public funds, and if it can get access to land. So how can we avoid these small deals and high transaction costs? Because at least in several countries like Portugal now, there is money to invest in land. The problem is how to get access to the land, how to get access to large areas that are managed in the same way. And I'm not talking about industrial forest. It can have industrial forest, but other kind of forest management solutions also. And regarding the supporting policies, it is critical to simplify the legal and administrative burdens. So a forest omnibus would be also a good solution. As mentioned yesterday, also the ecosystem service market development and regulation, it is critical to attract private investment under certain conditions. So companies want to have confidence in this kind of solutions. Obviously, for example, the FSC ecosystem services procedure, it can work, but is more on a sponsorship process. This is it will not allow a very stable and long-term investment. So we really need to have markets regulated, and then that they can deliver something to the companies. So it has to have a product, a service delivered, that the company needs that, like the water supply or that sort of thing. So in order to be stable, the companies need to have some recognition on that. Obviously, to match the format and concept of the investment support, to my knowledge, most of these investment supports, they don't think about, they are set up not thinking about the beneficiary. So they are tailor-made for everybody, and it doesn't work like that. So we have to develop specific measures to the specific type of forest owners and their specific needs. And for example, to replicate this kind of environmental agri schemes to the forest investment, for example, use the example of the olive orchards. And I leave a final question for reflection. If the forest owners organizations membership should be legally binding to all the forest owners that exist in that region. I don't even know if it is currently legally possible, this, but I think it should be somehow measured. It should be at least brainstormed internally and inside the project. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nuno, for this very rich presentation. I think it was really good to see an example of a major forest industry so interested in the land issue and the forest ownership issue. And you have presented many nice, ideas and initiatives how this can be fostered and gaining scale. I think this was the main message, that we need approaches to gain scale in bringing owners together, putting the land into action, so to say. Thanks a lot. So with that, we come to the last presentation. Alessandra Stefani is the president of the Italian National Cluster, Forest and Wood. So now we are even going to the national scale. She has been the Director General of Mountain Economy and Forest at the Italian Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Forestry Policies. and she has led the ministry's forestry divisions and holds the key role in national forestry institutions. So without further ado, I will give you the floor for your presentation. And yeah, interesting to hear what is going on in Italy on the cluster level.
No. This is another slide, not the first.
Do we have the right presentation available?
The first one? Well, I would like to thank the organization for this important meeting and to possibility to me to speak about Italian cluster for forests and woods. And I am president from 1 year, but the former president was Professor Peternella, that I want to thank because it was very important start with him. And Enrico, Davide, and Ilaria had show you something about Italy and Italian problems of forests and woods. And we have, it's more clear to say why the Italian forest strategy have a strategic action. I can't move it, but doesn't matter. They said, okay. Next one. Okay, the national strategy, it's very important for the first strategy for forest in Italy. It was published in 2022, and one of the strategic action was for the establishment of the National Wood Cluster, who aimed to promote network initiatives between the forestry sector and the primary and secondary wood processing industries. It's important, and you still know that 80% of the wood transformed in Italy come from abroad, but we have 12 million hectares of woods and forests in Italy, 40% of the total area, and 60% of them are coppices, but still for coppices we are importing firewood. So the transformation of the product of forest, the wood product of forest, is not so good in Italy. Italian forest strategy don't want to cut more, but want to transform better and in long chains of materials, because Italy is the first land in Europe, or first state in Europe, for recycling, reusing, and giving another life to our wood products. And we are exporting paper, used paper, and 70% of paper prepared in Italy comes from recycling. So we don't want to cut more, but we use better and utilize better our products to have lower income from abroad, most of all from the forests who need to be protected in the other part of the world. And this was the initial meeting launching the cluster in July 2023. So we are very new and there's a minister who wants to have an Italian cluster, strongly wants to have, and we are trying to do our need. And what is a cluster is not easy to explain to Italian people. It's a group of organizations, private and public, operating in a specific geographic area, working together to produce products or provide services for the development of a specific sector. We have cluster for technologies, we have cluster for sea water, We have a cluster for Made in Italy. And now the last one for wood and forests. And the forest wood cluster is the set of Italian organizations, public and private, called to work together to strengthen the Italian wood forest supply chains, ensuring sustainable development of our country and strengthening it on the international scenes. We are a cluster of clusters. We don't federate an industry because we need to have local clusters for doing this. We have a representation of industries, representation of artisans, representation of the forest owners, but we haven't any organization of forest owners because forest owners don't know they are forest owners normally, and we have a very big amount of unknown forest owners, most of all for the heritage not even known, or people who went abroad in the 30, 50, 60s of the last centuries. And the objective of the national cluster, reduced in a little, are fostering dialogue among system actors, national forestry, support members in innovation projects, support the government in initiatives and activities involving the forest sector and woodworking, creating networks in Europe and around the world, promoting forest management. And to promote forest management, we need to have owners associated, because the amount of any property is among 0.7 hectares per capita. And we have 60% of forests are private forests. And this is the most little quantity of space for capita. In the 30% rest, we have a big property from mairies, local towns, and a little piece of state forests, and some more, 10% of regional properties. And we have a lot of difficulties, bureaucratic difficulties, because the owners, every owners, can't do anything he wants about their forests, due to the importance of role of forests for landscape and preventing slopes and other ruins for public interest. And this is a very difficult subject we have to do with our work, and we are trying to promote association about among all our constituents. The national group works with the National Committee of National Supply Chains, an executive council, a committee on university and research, and a committee for territorial development. And we have these organizations, as you know, industrial, artisans, cooperatives, IL, and the other one are FIPER, are for fuels. And so we have all the chain. And we have research and CREA, that is a National Research Center. These are the private organizations, syndicates, and the two FSC and PFC are with us. And so we are trying to do something good. And these are some of the current focus for us. sharing development strategies for the sector with the ministry, and implementing coordinated initiatives to directly support the entire system. Participation in innovation projects with university and research centers, creating a link with companies and territories they are very far from one from the other, and speak again about problems is a new entry for us. Mapping the problems common to different committees to identify the best solutions. Talk about the bioeconomy and how to develop it. Bioeconomy is a great subject. We have a lot of words, little examples, and the best are in the word chain. And develop international relations of the Italian forest sector for the strengthening of the national system in Europe and abroad. Being part of the national cluster is an important and complex adventure because there is so much diversity and so many challenges. But the goal we will be able to achieve together will be incredibly greater than what we could ever achieve alone. So this is what we do think, and thank you to you all.
Thank you, Alessandra, for this overview of the new initiative. I think this can be a very important initiative for Italy. Clusters have developed in many forms and many ways in different countries. We have the example of the regional cluster in Styria, which has already some long years of experience, but I think it's really important to connect wood industries and forest management topics also on a high policy level. So thank you for all this information, and let's open the discussion, I think. We have, I think, again, the Mentimeter tool available. So please open the Mentimeter, and you can also vote for questions that have been raised here. I think we should maybe wait a little bit. But there is a first question here to Mariana. What are the main constraints currently limiting resin production in Europe? If you could maybe recall these points also from your presentation.
So the 4 points that I mentioned were property fragmentation, I mean the scale situation, profitability, because if the market, the end market is too volatile, it is sometimes difficult for the industry to pay the correct price to the tapper, and we enter no man's land. And regulation and people. We need people. We need to incentive people to work in the forests, people to live in rural areas. We need the ecosystem to work.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any suggestions how or ideas how you could like stimulate this as a company? Have maybe some?
I think that cooperative management is key. That's for sure. I mean, my presentation was a little bit provocative, but I think that everything that has been said here regarding working together for same goal is essential. I see these wonderful examples of clusters, and I wish for a resin cluster to happen, whether it be in Portugal, whether it be in Spain, whether it be in France, some kind of organization that regroups all stakeholders understanding the problems of each stakeholder, the challenges of each stakeholder, the challenges of each tapped area, and work for the common goal. I mean, I don't know. I think the scenario is so clear for me. I mean, natural resin is perfect. I mean, we are the solution for biochemicals. So why doesn't it work? I mean, it has to work. So
Okay, so yeah,
clusters,
I get the
cooperative.
point that this I think the point that Nuno also mentioned, gaining scale is the real, entry point maybe to connect this in a better way.
Tapping activity is manual. It is a traditional activity. It's an artisan that is in the forest. But the industry is scale. I mean, I have one tapper that will tap 25 kilos of resin in a year in a crop. How many tappers do I need to have a whole production? If I consider that a plant can consume 15,000 tons, I mean, just it's difficult to cross the barrier. Of course, that digitalization is also a solution. I mean, we have tried mechanization, but somehow mechanization is still not giving the yield that we need. We need innovative solutions of tapping in the forest, and we do all kinds of experiments. I mean, Nuno was speaking about projects with new species. I mean, we work with all that, not here in Portugal and Spain. Here in Portugal and Spain, there is not till now much focus on research on genetics for resin yield, but in Brazil, it's state of the art. I mean, if we can have a pine tree in Portugal giving 1.5 kilos per year, and we can have in Brazil a tree that gives 6 kilos easily. Well, 4 kilos easily. 6 kilos, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's not that good. So you can see the difference. I mean, it's the difference between being profitable and or not. Why is Castilla y León a very good area compared with Andalusia or with Galicia? Why isn't tapping industry good in Galicia? Because the yields are not that good. I heard that the yields are good, but then all the numbers kind of don't fit. Something's not right. So there's still a lot of research to be done, a lot of innovation to be done. I mean, there has been big improvements, but we need to work harder, and we cannot work alone. I mean, we have to work together. Something that I was speaking with Carlos in the networking. I mean, we are not against each other. The forest owner is not against the tapper is not against the industry is not against the forest owner. We all want the same thing. I mean, it's to make things work, so let's make them work. Okay,
yeah, thanks for all these additional insights and these thoughts. Let's go to the next question, which was also voted by many more persons here. How can new innovations in wood industries, and I wouldn't say not only wood industries, but forest-based industries, stimulate interest in forest use and also help mobilizing forest owners? How can wood industries become an active driver to activate the forests? And maybe I would also give this question to several of you. Alex, if you would like to start, and maybe Nuno, you can follow up.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the question, and it's a very important one. The answer is easy and difficult at the same time, because its communication is king. Speaking of a small forest owner, and in Austria, we have 50% of the forest in the hand of small forest owners, which is an average size of around 10 hectares. how to reach those, how to talk to those. It's not so easy. And we have to awaken the fascination for the new products that are available in the forest owners. If a forest owner doesn't even know where his or her forest is, it can be hard. But we have to tell them that what they have, even if it's of small size, that there's great potential in that. And we have to also let them know what potential that has for the whole value chain, starting in a forest, but ending in really innovative products, and also with the new tree species that are available and that are be prone to use concerning the climate change. But there's a lot of potential in that. And we have to communicate what's possible with these new tree species. And as I said, easier said than done. How we do it in Austria, we have the Waldverband Steiermark in Styria, which is of course a very important organization. There's 17,000 forest owners in this organization, and they have communication tools that are very valuable also for our topics. For example, there's an online event every Monday from the end of October till early May, where diverse topics around forestry are presented. And we as a cluster also can work together with them and tell them, you know, we would like to talk about innovation in the wood industry and what impact that can have on forestry. So we have to bring those words together, the value chain that's behind the forestry and of course also the forestry itself, and tell them about the perspective and awaken the fascination for what's possible. And I think if a forest owner gets interested and sees what's possible, if they can see a birch in their forest now, they just might enjoy the yellow color in fall, which is perfectly fine. That's beautiful. I like it too. But if to tell them this can be a train, even a part of an airplane or whatever, you know, then oh wow, that's fascinating. And now I'm getting into this. Now I'm getting interested, and now I want to like think about the economic perspective of my forest too, and even what it means for society, because we can all address the topics that are very, very widely discussed at the moment, like climate change, like the use of wood as a long-term carbon dioxide storage factor, like we can discuss with them. But it's not an easy task. I'm not downplaying this, but I think the communication is key. Just tell the forest owners what's possible and give them perspectives on what their actions can mean for the whole society.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Nuno, what is your take on this question, also coming from the south of Europe and this international perspective of Zona Arauco?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much what I said. I think the forest industry can be a partner in many things, like we are doing. But I think one of the key takeaways is the room for improvement that the small forest landowners still have to, and that can only be achieved by scale. If they select the most suitable species that can improve the yield by 20 or 25%, if they can have a joint management, then they can negotiate costs that can reduce the costs on 30%. If they can't organize and negotiate with the forest industry, wood trade deals can be long-term trade deals and can have better prices, even avoiding the intermediaries. For that, they have to have scale, to have size. But only this would have a huge impact on under the profitability, because the market and this kind of new solutions will push for the wood, will push for the prices, at least to keep the prices or to rise the prices. I don't know, but I don't see any kind of scenarios where the wood price will decrease. So I think the market is not an issue. I think the issue is how can we develop solutions that will allow small forest holders to become more profitable and to organize themselves in order to have better conditions to negotiate with forest contractors, with the wood industry. I think obviously knowledge transfer and digitalization, all of that is also a need, but I think this is the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. You also mentioned in your presentation this emerging, wood supply gap that is being projected in the future, and we can certainly confirm that from our background, looking at how tremendous these investments are now going into wood construction, new products, biotextiles, bioplastics. The bioeconomy is also at a high level. It's still, not implemented fully, but there are a lot of interest going in that direction. So there is a real, I think, challenge and question: will the wood supply remain, available for everybody? How will this start becoming a competitive game? And how do you see that as well playing out for forest owners? Is that a possibility to get a better price for timber, or will just the market be really much more harsh and difficult to manage in a way?
Well, I cannot answer for that, and I'm not making any kind of hopes. But what we see is that huge investments are running, even if there are some changes on Europe, some moving from outside Europe. In Europe, there is lots of investments. Even yesterday, a Portuguese company, Altri, announced they will double and change their pulp production to textile pulp. So they will double their own production. They have an investment, an idea under analysis for Galicia for this textile pulp also. We have our bioenergy partner is making an investment for green methanol. They were using biomass for that. So this is already started and is happening, and we have investments ongoing for increasing capacity, for wood waste recycling, for increasing production, in order to cope with these policies, with these decarbonization policies. We use our main source of emissions under Scope 3, which is the indirect emissions, is for chemicals. So in order to decarbonize, we need low carbon chemicals or bio-based chemicals in order to get into that for our production. So this goes beyond renewable energy, so it's much larger, and I think that we are seeing signs, investment signs everywhere, despite the trend and all the geopolitical problems and risks that we are seeing. We feel that the forest industry is trying to cope and to adapt and is investing. So I really don't think that market will be an issue. We need more wood because I think that there will be solutions and technology that we still don't see it, that are still just starting, and we don't see it if they are viable or not. But I think the future is good for the forest owners. But that key issue regarding the profitability of scale, it has to be overcome, because industry is interested in even to give you an example, we make long-term partnerships is one of our key issues, long-lasting alliances with our clients. So, but for that we have to have conditions to make that kind of. So we are interested in making this kind of, and yeah, I have here some Portuguese colleagues that when I come to Portugal they will knock on my door. And so you said that, but it's true. We are interested in long-lasting partnerships for wood supply, for example. But in the other side, and we can give some help on that. There has to be, and we need public policies also for that. We have to have an organization of that wood supply. Otherwise, it will be difficult.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, on the one side, the industry, should also aggregate and organize itself in a better way to be more active player, to also on this wood supply market, but also the government has to play, in a way, their role in setting the right environment for it, yeah? I don't know, Alessandra, do you also want to react from the Italian perspective on this question? So we have a market that is changing and more demand is coming.
Yes, market is changing, but we need for the small owners, because of marketing for the big owners or the big transformer and industries are changing, but they are on the change. But for the small, I think we have to do some platform in which collect all the woods of every owner in the valley, and we can send, most of all is are certified for the forest management, sustainable forest management. They can have sell all or a part of this amount of wood, and with the blockchain, you can give the money exactly to each little owner. So an associated platform and some owners that give their product there. The quantity is different and you can have another price. And you can have another utilization of this wood and not only firewood. And about firewood, I have seen a question. First of all, we have to improve cascade utilization. If you have more multiple use of wood, you will have a cascade utilization of what you can't use in another way, and what you can't reutilize or recycle. And then you need to have more efficient boilers. Yeah. And boilers for the families, more efficient, and capacity to use good fuel for the implementation of the results, and spend less money and utilize less fuel for the same heating. And you can have less pollution. We have a lot of fires, open fires still in Italy. 10 million about Italians heat them with wood. And we have the soul of poverty for them. So we have to be careful with this subject. Right. And then we have to improve heating combined with electricity, and not give money to big industries that have only electricity and lost for heating, that are not efficient, is not a good thing for us.
Okay, I think maybe a very short last comment from Nuno, but then I think we have to close this session.
Regarding the forestry's measures, just to give you an example on what we did in Portugal. Centropinos give an idea to the government to test a pilot, which is called is like a forest voucher. So we were inspired in a support mechanism which it was addressed to innovation, which is the innovation voucher, where small companies could apply to that, and there were some selected companies that were recognized by providing these services. And we gave that idea as a pilot, as a 3 million euros a pilot, that it was specific. So this was targeting small forest owners, only small forest owners. I think the cap was 10 hectares, something like that. And they have to apply, making the limitation of their plot, and they have photos of the current state of their plot. What would it was only for some specific forest operations. They get after the approval, they would get 50% of the money. They execute, and at the end they will take photos, send to them, and they will pay the remaining. So it was very simple, no invoices, nothing, just some trust. And obviously it has to be surveyed for control to avoid fraud. But the baseline was to have some trust and to develop a very, very simplified mechanism, quite similar to what happens in the first pillar of CAP, of the CAP. And it was a good success as a pilot. So lots of people applied. Obviously, then the administration have difficulty in processing all. It takes too long, more 1.5 years to start making the approvals of the application. And now, but it ran more or less well. And now this new government decided to improve this measure to a second pilot of 6 million euros, which is called active forest management, something like that, but using the same approach. But now they will pay more if instead of it is an individual application, if it is a jointly application. So what I want to highlight is that we need also, regarding small forest owners, simplified mechanisms, obviously with control, but that don't overburden with bureaucracy and excessive regulation for the risk of the investment. Okay?
Okay, thank you. With that, we will close. Thanks a lot to all the presenters for these very inspiring examples and also for this discussion in the end, I would say. Some really nice ideas how to continue thinking in that direction to mobilize it together. And I think the bottom line of that is that actually the wood industries and the forest owners have to really, engage and collaborate better. So thanks a lot, and then I will give the word again to Ricardo.
Well, happy to have been the most unuseful interpreter of this story of the United Nations. So that was the reason for my presence in this table. Your English is better than mine, Alessandra. But anyway, I would like to be paid anyway. Yeah? Well, I have a single recommendation for you all, guys. Now it's the time for lunch. Please try to get in time. The bus is leaving at 2 o'clock in front of the visitor entrance, I guess. Okay, so we are going to have our lunch at the 8th floor as yesterday. Please try to be at time, maybe even 5 minutes before. This is very important to go there because we have a 30-minute transportation until Castelpolziano. Enjoy your lunch. This is self-paid. And thank you for everything. See you later.